Hello everyone, it's Leslie Hasser with Your Biz Roles Business Coaching, here coaching from the carpool. I missed you yesterday, but I was moderating an event at the Plano Chamber of Commerce with JCPenney and Toyota, City of Plano, and Lumen Health all sitting on this panel talking about how small businesses, I'm talking about even if you're a solopreneur, can be doing business with big businesses. So it was a great panel, great discussion. I fully intended to pop on and say hi and let you know what I was doing, but I did get wrapped up in taking care of the panelists and getting everybody situated and then running the panel. But it was a really cool panel. I have a tremendous amount of respect for procurement professionals because of doing panels like this and really seeing their positivity and their openness and just their willingness to work with so many different types of businesses. So I think there's an amazing opportunity if you can at all in any way, shape, or form, and guys, don't even cut yourself out or take yourself out of the running, which is something I've done for a while, because it's just amazed me, the opportunities that they shared. And one of the topics that came up as we're talking and as we're sharing and they're answering questions was a question of pet peeves. Like, what does it drive you nuts that people do when they're trying to obviously be able to get in with a corporation? And it was so entertaining because one of the representatives said, don't email me and ask me if you can meet for 15 minutes later today, or say that your sales manager's in town, your vice president, your president, whomever is in town, we have to meet next Thursday because that's just not how we work. And they gave a couple of other examples of really what doesn't work when you're trying to actually gain more business and work with corporations. And it all came down to consider who you're speaking with and who you're trying to market your services to. So I thought that was a great segue into my pet peeve for the day, because I experienced, oh my gosh, I thought it was so funny, the same thing today in my business. And we'll share that a little bit. But really today is about quadrant 2. I think, today's Thursday. So 2 days ago, we talked about really demographics. And that's kind of the nuts and bolts, the who's, the what's and things of that nature, the things you can see a lot of times. Today we're talking about psychographics. And I really think psychographics is almost more important. And I especially think that psychographics is becoming even maybe a leading indicator versus demographics, because the way we define ourselves as human beings is shifting, right? So we can't use old definitions to really pinpoint our clients and who they are, but psychographics, like how people see the world and how they think, now that we can use. I think it's a better indicator of how to communicate with your clients. Let me go over the 9 points, okay? And I'm going to show you. Somebody hasn't told me if this comes across backwards, and I haven't had a chance to look. But here are the 9 categories. Psychographics. Know who you're talking to. Number 1, values. You might have a sense of my values by now if you've been watching Coaching from the Carpool. You might know that I value time highly. That I value my time and I value the time of my clients like crazy. So when my little pet peeve happens today of somebody was referred to me as just a connection, and I was reading the email exchange and I was like, I'm really confused. I don't know that this is a good use of anyone's time for me to connect. And I said, hey, I got your introduction. I'm a little confused. I see this from the person that introduced us, and I see this from your email, and I just wanted to clarify, like, what would we be getting together to discuss? And it was funny because the response was, well, let me grab 15 minutes of your time. I went, I just told you that I like to have meetings with intention and be clear on what those intentions are. And I was like, well, no, I really do need to know what we'll be discussing so that I can determine whether it's a good fit for us or not, or if I need to make another connection for you. Like, do I need to forward this on? I'm trying to ascertain what to do with this information. And the response was, well, just grab some time on my calendar. And I went back and I went, I'm going to pass for now. And I'll be honest, I feel like you're trying to sell me into something that I don't even know what it's about. I thought it was funny that in 3 emails, I couldn't get the communication that I was looking for, and I was pretty clear. I was also clear in communicating what the values are for me. I'm intentional, right? I don't have time to waste right now. I am very busy, thankfully so, but I have to be judgy with my time, and that's okay. But I was respecting his time as well. So it's a huge value that I was communicating in these short, brief communications back and forth that wasn't being read. Okay? That's really like, even if you've got what your client needs, if you're not tuning into what their values are and being able to address those values, you're not going to be able to get that much further. This person's not even getting time on my schedule. Okay, I'm full, and I do have space because that's the way I like things, but I reserve those for purposeful and intentional things, not just chewing the fat all the time. I don't know about you. I don't have a whole lot of time to chew fat. So values are huge. Beliefs are huge. If you're on Facebook, oh my good gravy, beliefs are huge, aren't they? Do you, there was a speaker that came to the chamber one time, and there was one good point that she brought up, is really, are you cognizant of your beliefs and your potential clients' beliefs? The thing about being in business, guys, is everyone's watching. Everyone's watching. Your children are watching, your friends are watching, potential clients are watching. Potential clients are stalking you. They're checking you out. They're trying to get a sense of who you are as a person. Okay? Are you communicating the beliefs that are in alignment with who you say your ideal client is? I'm not asking you not to be who you are. I'm asking you to be aware of what you're communicating and be conscious of it. That's all. Support system. Who do your clients choose in their lives as support systems? Is it girlfriends? Is it pastors? Is it financial advisors? Is it hairdressers? Is it, you name it, right? There's a lot of people that we have conversations with during our day-to-day business and lives who's in that support system. Know what do they need? Like, what do they think we need? I was working with a colleague today, and it was funny because we have different minds, way different minds. So sometimes it takes us a little bit of an hour to understand where each other is coming from, but the value of what gets created in the conversation is strong enough that we have these conversations. And it was, after I got off the phone, I sensed her frustration. I was like, okay, I'm not giving her what she needs or what she thinks she needs. And so she was calling me immediately because she was like, wait a minute, is this what you meant? And we were talking about the need part, right? Not everyone's great at communicating need. You have to train people to do that. But when you do know what the needs are with your ideal client, it just helps you serve them so much better. And if they believe that you're hearing them, right? If you're able to hear them because you understand their needs, then it makes for such an easier sales conversation. Next one, what do they strive for? All right. So and why do they do what they do? Why are they doing what they do? I have told, I know I share this a lot, of why I'm a businesswoman, why I'm an entrepreneur. And it's not to make $1 million. It hasn't been. I don't know, that story is shifting. But it hasn't been up until then. It's been about freedom. It's been about joy. It's been about being able to make a financial contribution to my household. It's been about flexibility with my kids. That's why I do what I do. And why do I do with what I share with you? Because I'm really passionate about business, and I'm a total business geek. And I can't turn my mind off from it, but that's the way my brain works, and that's okay. So just know why you do and why your ideal client does what they do. There's always these motivations, and while we may not have been able to put words to it, our ideal client might be able to help us with that. So know what those motivations are. Know where do they go for the solutions. I will tell you, interestingly, in my first business, I worked with a lot of professionals who were both the husband and the wife were working. You know where they went for solutions? They went online Sunday night at 10 o'clock. That's where they were trying to find solutions. And so I just started tracking how leads came into my business. Predominantly, they came in Sunday night. because people were looking online. So there, in that first business, there was an element of online because I needed to be where my client was already looking for solutions. I can wait for them to find me, but I am so much more passionate about active forms of marketing versus passive. Active is you go where they already are. Passive is you wait for them to come to you. Okay? You can balance it, but go active first. And the next one's personality. How people portray themselves outwardly is not always how people are wired inwardly, if you will. So pay attention to how people's personalities impact what you'll probably see in your ideal clients, and you can see in who you're attracted to. You are naturally going to attract first people who are like you. It's just generally what happens because we're humans. Then you will attract people that resonate with your message, okay? And there will be different personality types in there. Knowing your personality types is key to identifying an ideal client. I will say that for a while there, I kept picking up a certain personality type in my business and bringing them on as clients. And the truth is we were not a good fit. I know what that personality type is. I did the work to go back and say, okay, what is the common denominator among these people? Like, what is it that is just not a good fit? There's nothing wrong with them as a person. There's nothing wrong with their business. There's nothing wrong with what they're trying to achieve. We just don't mesh. And I know we need to mesh to be able to have results. And so one of that happened to be what I consider the compliant, the C's on the disc. Sometimes if I have a really strong C, I can't work well with. But I work great with engineering minds. It's kind of crazy. But there's a few indicators that tell me from a personality standpoint if I'm going to be able to work with these people. Okay, so know what those things are. And I can also sense like the people that I do work really well. There are things that'll drive you nuts and things that you can take, and just being aware of that is so crucial to make sure that you're attracting the ideal client. And the last one is motivations. And I think that's a little bit of a repeat. Maybe I have something to brush up on here. But that's really, if you think about it, why I feel like psychographics is so much more important than demographics in your ideal client definition. We'll actually go over a couple more categories. I don't want to rush it, so I'm just going to do one a day because I worked up 9 of these puppies, or I have. This is actually from a piece of coursework I wrote called The Right Client Revolution, and it appears in my book. So if you haven't had a chance to get in on the sneak peek and launch community for my book that I'm writing, and just finished another chapter today. Yay. One more chapter to go, and I know exactly what it's going to be, so it should be done by Friday, maybe Monday, we'll see. But if you'd like to be in on that sneak peek and get some of the chapters and help me look at things like cover design and places where I can share this information, then I'd love to have you aboard. If you'll just comment #MyBizRules below in the comments, I'll bring you into that community. Promise you, I'm not spamming. I won't just assume you want to be in there, and then I'm not going to abuse it either. So try to get for a happy medium there, but we'll be almost ready to start sharing some chapters. So I'm really excited to get some feedback in. I want to make sure. I hesitated to write a book because I wanted to write a book of worth, not a bestseller. Okay, so I have been working really hard on the value, and I think I'm not just delivering value. I think I'm going over the top, and I'm fine with that. I think it's high quality stuff, but I want to make sure it's very clear, very actionable, very readable, and enjoyable to do there. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for being here again. This has been Leslie Hassler with Your Biz Rules Business Coaching, and we're coaching from the carpool.